SCP-1129, The Mirrored Abyss, Part 1, The Archivist's Fall. Memo to O5, dated. The following account is compiled from fragmented testimony of redacted. Former Foundation archivist employee ID A3914. Recovered after Incident 1129 Alpha. Due to inconsistencies in memory, potential memetic contamination, and absence of corroborating records. Reliability is unverified. Cross-referencing with Foundation databases yields no record of SCP-1129. Associated personnel or site activity logs for the specified period. Personnel accessing this document are advised to undergo memetic screening. Proceed with caution. My name is redacted. I was an archivist for the Foundation, stationed at site. A concrete labyrinth buried beneath redacted. My job was to catalog the impossible SCP reports, field logs, declassified fragments of things that defy logic and sanity. I processed containment breaches, entity sightings, and objects that rewrite reality, reducing them to sterile entries in a database. No questions, no hesitation. Imagination was a liability, memory worse. We were trained to preserve what's written and let the truth decay in the shadows. Doubt was a luxury I couldn't afford. I never believed in anomalies. Not really. To me, they were just file strings of numbers, warnings, and redacted names locked behind magnetic doors in the archive wing. SCP-173 was a statue that moved when you blinked. SCP-682 was a lizard that wouldn't die. They were data points, not nightmares. I was good at my job, cold, detached. The Foundation carved me into a machine that sorted paper and ignored the screams behind the words. For 6 years, I cataloged the impossible without flinching, until her. Her name was Lana Korsakov, a logistics officer stationed 2 floors below in the requisition center of site. She was a walking contradiction blonde, hair perpetually tangled in a half-fallen bun, black turtlenecks worn like a uniform, and a mind that sliced through the Foundation's bureaucracy with surgical precision. She was too sharp, too alive for the gray corridors we inhabited, where fluorescent lights buzzed like dying insects, and the air smelled of antiseptic and despair. Her laugh was rare, a fleeting burst of warmth that lingered in your head like a melody you couldn't place. Shed-leave napkins on my desk, scrawled with equations, half-finished poems, or cryptic phrases like "what remembers when we forget." I'd find them after hours, tucked between folders, and smile despite myself. Lana was a puzzle. Her personnel file listed a PhD in applied mathematics, but she'd been demoted to logistics after an unspecified incident during a containment audit. Whispers among staff painted her as reckless, someone who asked too many questions, who saw patterns where others saw protocol. She didn't belong in the Foundation's machine, yet she thrived in its cracks, bending rules with a grin. I envied that. Maybe that's why I noticed her. We weren't supposed to connect. Emotional attachments are a breach of Foundation protocol, a risk flagged in every onboarding seminar. Proximity breeds weakness, the training manuals warned, but sight was a tomb, its silence louder than the anomalies it contained. Rules eroded in the quiet of underground hallways, where the hum of ventilation was the only constant. Our conversation started as accidents passing. Remarks about outdated containment procedures, shared complaints about the sludge they called coffee in the break room. Then they became deliberate. I'd linger in the requisition center, pretending to check forms. She'd slip into the archive after hours, claiming she needed context for a shipment log. Behind the archive's magnetic lock, we carved out a fragile world. She'd perch on a stool, reading old breach logs aloud, her voice turning containment failures into ghost stories. A Keter-class entity escaping in '97, leaving only shadows burned into walls. A researcher's diary describing whispers from an object that knew their sins. I'd lean against a cabinet stuffed with Level 4 files, letting her words drown out the hum of the servers. Her stories weren't just data, they were alive, pulsing with dread and wonder. For the first time, the Foundation felt real, so did I. It started with a glitch, Lana found it during a routine cross-reference of requisition logs, a task she loathed but excelled at. A file labeled SCP-1129 null surfaced in the system, buried in a cold storage folder marked for deletion. No active threat. Location: an abandoned Siberian settlement. Coordinates redacted. Classification neutralized. The report was skeletal, barely a page, with boilerplate language and no addenda. Anomalies don't vanish. They escalate, or they're contained. Neutralized objects are rare, and even those have dossiers thick with tests. Containment logs and termination attempts. This one was a ghost. What caught Lana's eye was the deletion tag. It wasn't automated, as protocol demanded. It bore a manual signature in 05 level overseer's cipher, scrawled in black ink. That was impossible. Osime signatures don't appear en routine. Deletions, they're reserved for world-ending decisions. I dismissed it as a clerical error, but Lana saw something I didn't. She pulled the file's metadata, her fingers flying across the terminal. The timestamps didn't match. Backup versions showed inconsistencies, photos shifting between desolate snowfields and blurred buildings, their edges unnaturally soft. Names in the logs: Dr. Elena Vorshev, Agent Mikhail Taranware, absent from any Foundation registry, living or dead. Entire paragraphs vanished between revisions, leaving only fragmented sentences. Mirrors reflect what was, and it remembers us, Lana called it. An orphaned file, a relic abandoned by the system, but she believed it was scrubbed deliberately. Someone didn't want this found, she said, her voice low as if the walls could hear. She started digging, accessing restricted servers during off hours, bypassing security with tricks she shouldn't have known. I warned her to stop. The Foundation doesn't tolerate curiosity, it punishes it, but she wouldn't listen. Her obsession grew like a fever. She'd stay late, hunched over admin terminals, her face lit by the glow of screens. I'd find her in the archive at 3 a.m., surrounded by shredded printouts, taping fragments together like a conspiracy theorist. Her hands shook, stained with ink and toner. Her desk became a graveyard of coffee cups, crumpled notes, and diagrams of mirror-like patterns. Once, I found a napkin with the phrase 1129 sees me written in her handwriting, circled in red. I asked why it mattered so much. Why risk her clearance? Her safety for a dead file? She looked at me, eyes glassy, unfocused, and said, "It's calling me." The words weren't hers, they were too heavy, too certain, like a memory she'd never lived. That scared me. Not the file, not the Foundation, but Lana, her voice, her gaze, as if something else was looking through her. Weeks passed. She stopped sleeping. Dark circles framed her eyes, and her laugh vanished. She'd stare at mirrors in the break room, muttering to herself. Once I overheard her whisper, "You were there." I know you were, her reflection unmoving as she spoke. Other staff noticed. Whispers spread Lana was unstable, compromised. I defended her, lied to supervisors, said she was stressed. But I was lying to myself. She wasn't just obsessed, she was unraveling. Then one night, she showed up at my apartment. It was past midnight, the air thick with rain. Her face was pale, her hands trembling, smudged with ink like shed clawed through a printer. Her turtleneck was torn at the sleeve, her hair loose and wild. They erased it. She whispered, her voice barely audible. But it's still there. I saw it. She claimed she'd hacked a restricted server, one buried behind layers of encryption even. SCP-1129, The Mirrored Abyss. Memo to O5, dated. The following account is compiled from fragmented testimony of redacted former Foundation archivist employee ID A3914, recovered after Incident 1129 Alpha. Due to inconsistencies in memory, potential memetic contamination, and absence of corroborating records, reliability is unverified. Cross-referencing with Foundation databases yields no record of SCP-1129. Associated personnel or site activity logs for the specified period. Personnel accessing this document are advised to undergo memetic screening. Proceed with caution. Part 2. Into the Silent Town. We didn't go alone. Lana insisted on bringing two others, Julian Carver and Marlin, research interns on a rotational program at site. Julian was a wiry optimist, his eyes bright with theories about mimetic anomalies and their hidden patterns. He'd spend breaks sketching containment schematics on napkins, convinced every SCP held a key to understanding reality. Mara was his opposite, quiet, methodical, with a gaze that seemed to dissect everything it touched. She had a habit of tracing sigils in the air when nervous, a relic of some forgotten superstition. They were young, eager, and woefully unprepared. They thought this was an unsanctioned research trip, a chance to unearth a forgotten Foundation secret. Lana didn't tell them the truth, neither did I. Part of me hoped their presence would tether her to reality. Part of me feared I needed them to tether me. The settlement wasn't on any map. We took a rattling train to Redacted, a Siberian outpost where the air tasted of rust and diesel. From there, we hitched a ride with a trucker who reeked of vodka and muttered about cursed places as he drove. The road ended in a pine forest, its trees so dense they seemed to knit together, blotting out the sky. Snow fell in slow, silent sheets, muffling our footsteps. The world felt muted, as if sound itself was afraid to linger. "This is it," Lana said, her voice barely breaking the stillness. There was nothing, just the faint outline of ruined buildings, half swallowed by frost and moss. Rusted Cyrillic signs hung crookedly, their letters eroded into meaningless scars. No birds sang, no wind stirred. The silence was a physical weight, pressing against my chest, making each breath feel stolen. The forest loomed, its branches curling inward like claws. We stepped over cracked concrete, our boots crunching too loudly in the quiet. The town was wrong. Buildings stood at impossible angles, their walls leaning as if melting under an unseen force. Doors were too small, barely waist-high, their frames warped. Windows stretched unnaturally tall, their glass cloudy and streaked with patterns that shifted when you blinked. The architecture felt like a mockery, designed by something that understood human spaces but despised them. Shadows pooled in corners, deeper than they should have been, and the air carried a faint metallic tang like blood left to dry. Julian snapped photos, his camera's clicks echoing like gunshots. "This place is a gold mine," he said, his voice trembling with excitement or fear. Mara wandered silently, her fingers brushing the walls. "It's watching us," she whispered, her breath clouding in the frigid air. I felt it too, a pressure behind my eyes, a sense that the town was aware of us, its silence not empty but expectant. A low hum vibrated beneath the ground, too faint to pinpoint, like a machine buried deep. Lana moved with purpose, her eyes scanning the ruins as if following a map only she could see. She clutched a crumpled printout of the SCP-1129 null file, its edges worn from her constant handling. I asked what she was looking for. She didn't answer, just pointed to a rusted sign half buried in snow. It read in faded red paint. Her lips twitched, not quite a smile. "That's where it starts," she said. That night, we camped in the town square, beside the skeletal remains of a statue. Its face was gone, eroded to a smooth, featureless oval, but its posture suggested agony, arms twisted, head thrown back. Julian and Mara tried to ease the tension, swapping stories by lantern light. Julian recounted a containment breach he'd read about, laughing nervously. Mara spoke of her grandmother's tales of spirits trapped in mirrors. Their voices felt fragile, swallowed by the silence. Lana didn't speak. She sat cross-legged, staring at the statue's blank face, her fingers tracing patterns in the snow spirals, sigils, numbers. I caught the number 1129 among them before she brushed it away. I couldn't sleep. The hum grew louder in the dark, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. I swore I saw the statue shift, its head tilting slightly toward us. When I blinked, it was still. Mara stirred, muttering in her sleep. Words I couldn't catch, but that sounded like a plea. Julian's camera, left by the fire, clicked once, unprompted. The photo it took was blank pure black, though the lens had been pointed at the statue. In the morning, Lana found a stairwell inside the clinic's ruins. A rusted hatch, bolted shut, Bore the Foundation sigil, scratched as if by claws. She didn't hesitate. With a crowbar from Julian's pack, she pried it open, revealing a black void below. The air that rushed out was warm, damp, and smelled of iron. Julian peered down, his flashlight beam swallowed by the dark. "This is it, right?" he asked, his voice cracking. Mara grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my sleeve. "Don't let her out of your sight," she said, her eyes wide. "This place hates us." Lana descended without a word. I followed, my heart pounding. The hum was louder now, vibrating in my bones. Behind me, Julian muttered about primary sources. Mara's footsteps were soft, hesitant. The hatch slammed shut above us, though no one touched it. Addendum 1129A2 recovered field note. Found in A3940's jacket post-retrieval. Written in ink. Partially smudged by snow, the town isn't empty. It's alive. The windows move when you're not looking. The statue knows my name. Don't trust the photos, they lie. Note exhibits mild mimetic properties, inducing unease in readers. Stored in containment locker, B Part 3, the mirrored corridor. The stairwell was narrow, its walls slick with condensation that glistened like sweat. My flashlight flickered, casting jagged shadows that seemed to writhe. The air grew thick, heavy with the scent of metal and decay, like an old wound left to fester. Each step echoed, but the sound was wrong-layered, as if others walked beside us, unseen. The walls pulsed faintly, their rhythm matching the hum that now shook my teeth. I wanted to turn back, but Lana's silhouette ahead was a tether, pulling me deeper. At the bottom, a steel door loomed, its surface dented and scratched. The Foundation sigil was etched into it, partially clawed away, as if something had tried to erase it. Below, a number 1129. No suffix, just that, carved deep enough to draw blood. Lana stood before it, her eyes glassy, reflecting the dim light like mirrors. "It remembers," she whispered, her voice doubled as if spoken by two mouths. The door groaned open with a wet, grinding sound, revealing a corridor lined with mirrors. The mirrors stretched endlessly, their surfaces flawless but wrong. They reflected Usme, Lana, Julian, Moraine, infinite layers, but the reflections were off. My face was gaunt, eyes hollow. Lana's smile was too wide, her teeth too sharp. Julian's reflection blinked too slowly. Mara's trembled as if sobbing. The reflections moved out of sync, tilting heads when we didn't. Raising hands, we kept still. One of mine stared at me, its lips curling into a grin I didn't make. Another mouthed words I couldn't hear, its eyes black pits. We walked, and the mirrors changed. I saw myself older, hunched over a desk, scribbling notes in a room with no doors. I saw Lana laughing, then screaming, her face dissolving into static. Julian, alone, clawing at his eyes until they bled. Mara, her body crumbling into ash, her hands reaching through the glass, screaming my name. The images flickered like a broken film, each one a wound. I screamed, my voice swallowed by the corridor's hum. Now a chorus of whispers chanting names mine, Lana's, others I didn't know. Julian collapsed, clutching his head. "It's in my skull," he gasped, blood trickling from his nose. Mara whispered prayers in a language that sounded ancient, her fingers tracing sigils in the air. Lana didn't react. She walked forward, her reflection splitting into dozens, some crying, some laughing, some with no face at all. Her shadow stretched too long, pooling like ink. "You don't remember me, do you?" she asked, her voice soft but echoing, as if the mirrors spoke with her. I froze. "Lana, what the hell are you talking about?" She turned, and her smile wasn't hers. It was too perfect, too still, like a mask. "I died here," she said, "years ago. You came to find me, again and again." "You always forget, but I remember you." I stumbled back, my reflection showing me older, broken, screaming into a recorder. She wasn't real. She wasn't real. The words looped, endless, burned into my mind. The mirrors pulsed, their surfaces rippling like water. One showed Lana as she was now, another as a corpse, her eyes sewn shut. A third showed her standing behind me, liquid, pooling, and stretching. The snow buried our tracks as soon as we made them. The trees seemed to move, their branches curling closer when I turned away. I swore I saw Lana in the distance, standing motionless, her reflection shimmering in the air like a mirage. When I blinked, she was gone. We found Mara hours later, curled beneath a collapsed structure that hadn't been there before. Her eyes were open, unseeing, her lips moving silently. She muttered fragments, numbers, names. The Foundation sigil. Her hands were raw, nails torn from scratching sigils into the snow. She never spoke again. Some part of her stayed in that corridor. She draws the sigil now, obsessively, on the walls of her cell. Sometimes she writes, "Don't trust glass," in blood. Addendum 1129A4. Recovered sketch, found in Marilyn's possession post-retrieval. Drawn in charcoal, depicting a mirrored corridor with distorted figures. One figure resembles A3914, another, labeled Lana, has no face. Sketch induces vertigo in viewers, contained under memetic protocols. Part 5. Retrieval and erasure. The Foundation found me days later, 40 miles from the coordinates, though I don't remember walking. I was hypothermic, barefoot, my clothes torn. My hands were stained with ink, though I carried no pen. They say I was muttering about mirrors, a woman who wasn't there, and a number 1129. My debriefing was a haze-white rooms, cold voices, questions I couldn't answer. My memories were fragments, jagged and misaligned. Lana's face flickered in my mind, but her features blurred, like a photo left in the rain. There is no Lana Korsakov in Foundation records, no SCP-1129, no mission log. The coordinates lead to an empty snowfield, no trace of a settlement. Julian Carver and Mara Lynn were reassigned, their memories scrubbed or replaced. Julian left the Foundation months later, vanishing without a trace. His personnel file lists him as terminated, but no body was recovered. Mara was institutionalized, diagnosed with redacted. She sits in a padded room, drawing sigils and whispering about glass. They don't remember me. They act like we never met. I was cleared for duty, though my hands shake when I touch paper. The archive feels different now, too quiet, too alive. My terminal glitches, displaying fragments of the SCP-1129 null file before crashing. Photos of the Siberian snow appear in my desk, though I never took them. Each one shows a shadow in the distance, too tall, too thin. I burn them, but new ones appear. I dream of her, of that corridor, of her voice doubled, saying I died here. I see her reflection in every mirror, smiling when I don't. Her laugh echoes in my apartment, sharp and wrong. Sometimes I find napkins on my desk. Scrawled with her handwriting, 1129 sees you. I don't know if I'm writing them. The Foundation says I'm fine. They say I escaped, but I don't know if I left that place. I don't know if I'm real. Addendum 1129A5 recovered video log, found in site server, flagged for deletion. Timestamp predates A39 Warren's employment. Transcript, grainy footage of a mirrored corridor. A figure resembling A3914 stands motionless. A second figure resembling Lana Korsakov approaches. Figure 2, you came back. Figure 1, I don't know you. Figure 2, you will. Smiles, face blurring, again and again, feed cuts to static. Video is inaccessible post-analysis. Server logs deny its existence. Part 6. The final reflection. I'm writing this in the archive, though I don't know why. The words feel like they're not mine, like I'm transcribing someone else's thoughts. My reflection in the monitor blinks too slowly. The hum is back. Faint but growing, vibrating in my bones. I found a note in my pocket today, written in my handwriting, "You're still there." I don't remember writing it. Last night I found a photo in my desk, a grainy image of the Siberian town. Taken from above. 4 figures stand in the snow, Julian, Mara, Lana, and me. But there's a 5th, behind us. Its face is blank, like the statue, but its hands are on our shoulders. I burned the photo. It didn't help. This morning my mirror was cracked. the shards arranged to spell a number 1129. I hear her laugh now every night. It's sharp, infectious the way it used to be, but it's not hers, it's mine. And it's not just in my head. The mirrors laugh with me, their surfaces rippling like water. My reflection moves when I don't, writing notes I never see, speaking words I never hear. I checked the archive logs today. My employee ID A3914I is gone. My name doesn't exist. The Foundation says I was never here. But I'm still in this room, typing this report, though the screen flickers with static. The mirrors are everywhere now, even in my dreams. They show me what I refuse to see. I'm not the archivist. I never was. SCP-1129 isn't a place. It's me. It's always been me. I've been here before. Running through this corridor, chasing a woman who never existed. Writing a story that never ends. The mirrors don't lie. They show the truth in the anomaly, trapped in a loop of my own making, forgetting and remembering again and again. I hear footsteps behind me. The hum is deafening now, a chorus of my own voice. I turn, but there's no one there. Just my reflection, smiling. It raises a hand. Beckoning. The glass ripples, and I feel myself falling forward, into it, through it. I'm still there, and am not alone. Addendum 1129A6. Final note. Found on A3914's terminal, unsaved. Timestamp matches retrieval date. You're reading this because you think you're safe. You're not. The mirrors see you. The number knows you. 1129 isn't gone. It's here. It's you. Look behind you. I'm waiting. Terminal was found powered off. A3914's whereabouts are